Go ahead. Go ahead, Warner Brothers. Sue him too. Welcome back. As adults, we joke a lot about teens being moody, teens being unpredictable as they go through adolescence. But it's really important that we take their feelings and their emotions seriously and talk about their mental health challenges. Here now with that, give it up for our good friend, Colleen Lindstrom, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, friend. I say it, this is an exit ramp show where we stop with leg lamps and we talk about something worthwhile.
Yeah. And honestly, so first of all, I do have to say two things. Number one, I also do tease my children for being moody. So that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? That's number one. Number two, I'm just a normal parent. Like, I don't have any degrees. I have a lot of degrees, but not in parenting. So I'm just like, I'm in it with everybody else, trying to figure out kind of how to do my best with my kids.
And that's why I love you for 100 reasons, but
thanks.
I think that's why you resonate with so many parents, because you speak their language, you're not speaking above them, you're not a shishi-poo-poo child psychologist, you're in the trenches.
Oh, I am in it.
Because
Trust
again,
me.
for new people in like Quincy and hello, Austin, Texas, give us the age range of your family.
So I have an 18-year-old son, and then I have twins who are 15. So we're in it. I mean, we're in the teen years squarely.
This is let's start with this. Let's start with the baseline. Broad question, but I know what is the best advice for parents right now dealing with the best way to support teens and their mental health? Yeah,
so I have three really important things for me. The first one is their feelings are real. The first thing is to never dismiss what they're feeling. If they're feeling anxious, if they're feeling depressed, if they're feeling great, if they're feeling happy, none of those feelings are wrong and they're real for them. If they're feeling anxious, like I think about right now, there's been a lot of conversations about airplanes, and my family went on a trip. We had a difficult flight on the way out there, and then another plane accident happened before we left. And then we had to get on the airplane, and we had to really talk about the reality of the anxiety that you have when you're out of control. Those feelings are real, so don't dismiss them. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is, remember that even though you were a teenager once, you were not a teenager in 2025. And so even though you think, like, a lot of things that teens go through are similar to what we went through. Feelings, hormones are the same. I don't think they've changed those. But the reality of the environment that they live in is different than when I was a teenager in the 90s. So acknowledging that while still also acknowledging the similarities.
Hello, bottom line, we didn't go through a pandemic.
No, I mean, that is something else. Let's remember that.
I just read a huge article in The Atlantic about what it's done specifically to boys.
Yeah.
This generation of boys.
Yeah, it absolutely is a different environment. And then the last thing I would say is to find ways to help support their hobbies. Don't discount a hobby as something that's just fun for them. If it's something that lights them up and really makes them excited, find ways to support them in that. So I've got a child who's recently taken up photography. And, do I really want to get in the car and drive to a nature preserve on Saturday all day? It wasn't on my list of things to do, but this is something that feeds him, that makes him light up, and we're going to make it happen because it matters to him. So those are all, sometimes we get really focused on academics. We think school is their job, but there's so much more than that, and the more we can help them see that it is worth it to have joy in other ways, the better off everybody is.
I want to piggyback off what you said in the first one, and I have quoted this many times on this show, on the radio show. You might have heard me say it. There was an Oprah Winfrey show that I will never forget in her early seasons, and she had a child expert on. And she said, with puppy love, the expert said, never discount puppy love, because the love that teenagers feel is way more intense than what we feel, because they don't have the life experience to know that other loves will come. I don't even have kids.
Yeah.
I don't have I wasn't even a teen at that time. That knocked me back, and I've never, obviously, that was 1991, never forgotten it.
No, I co-sign on that for sure. I'm glad to hear that an expert agrees with me. But it is so true. Their feelings are real, and even though we have the benefit of, I mean, I don't know, sometimes it's a benefit, some days it's not a benefit, of like a long life and so many experiences, our tendency is to want to discount what they're going through because we know we have a crystal ball to the future. But, you know, I think about it with prom, the way that like promposals are a big thing, and it can seem from an adult perspective a little excessive, but for them, this is the hugest thing that they've done. This is a big, huge kind of romantic, monumental thing that they're going to remember forever. I remember my proms, and they felt like a big deal then.
Basically, watch the eye rolls.
Yeah, exactly.
More with Colleen when we come back. Back in a moment. That was great.
Thank you. I love that you remember that.
Oh, I'll never forget that.
Let's make it.
The great Colleen Lindstrom. We're going to tell you about an event, too, that we have coming up. Colleen does. We'll give you information. Fallon has joined the conversation because you have a teenager in your house, too.
I do.
Yeah. How old is Dylan?
Dylan is 17. He'll be 18 in November. So he's going to be going into his senior year this fall. Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
You know, I always say Dylan is the easiest, like, kindest hearted, like he is just the best. So I know that my 5-year-old will be the one giving me the run for my money because there has to be one, right? So I don't know, he's just easy.
I don't want to tell you that it's going to be a hard year.
Wait, the 18?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty sure my 18-year-old is watching right now. Hi.
Hi.
I'm just going to say they make it pretty easy for you to say goodbye to them at the end of the year.
I've heard that.
It's real. Yeah, it's real. It's called dirtying the nest.
That's what it is. Yes, I've heard this before. So that you are like, push them out of the nest.
Yeah, and it's all good. You know, that's the thing that's hard about it is when you're in it, you're like, this doesn't feel good. I don't love this. And it's all part of nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then they come back around eventually.
I hope so.
What is it like both of you, what is it like trying to even talk to them? You mentioned the pandemic. That affected their communication skills. The phone, I read another story about the phones have ruined people's ability, teenagers' ability to just communicate. What is that like?
Well, I know all my letters now because that's all I get is like one letter.
Okay.
Or like everything, or like TY is thank you, YW is you're welcome. I mean, there's so many abbreviations. We just like to save time. But it is. A lot of times I find myself saying, please put your phone down and show me that you're paying attention so that we can have a real conversation. And they don't, I mean, I'm making a blanket statement. Kids don't think it's that big of a deal.
They don't.
They don't. They're like, what? I am paying attention. And the idea that this thing that's in between you and them is getting in the way is like not, they don't care.
Do you see that, Fallon?
Yeah, I mean, so my stepson Dylan, before I know Jake would always have conversations with him in the car. Well, then he got his driver's license, so he doesn't need Jake to drive him anymore. So he is, he works. He'll come home after like hanging out with friends. We used to do family dinners together, so those are less frequent. So recently I was like, I feel like I don't know what's going on in Dylan's life, so I took him to dinner, just me and him. We went like 2 weeks ago. I was like, Dylan, we're going to dinner, and we didn't pick up our phones. I took one picture of him with his sushi, and we just talked the whole time, and I feel like he felt very comfortable sharing with me, and I don't know. I think it just brought us out of our element and our comfort, so he felt comfortable talking to me. Yeah.
And you do have to make those moments. Like you have to be really intentional about it. I will say also, I don't want to give my secret away, especially when I know one of my teens is watching. But
turn off the television,
Turn off
Ollie.
the TV, Ollie. Do something.
Look at your phone. Just kidding.
But it is those car ride conversations are the best, and there's a great reason why. Because they don't have to look at you, and it feels but they're present with you. And so when you're side by side, it can be easier to have harder conversations. That's where I had the sex talk with all of my children in the car.
Really?
Yes, it was easier for everybody. Nobody wants to look at their parent in the eye and talk about that. Ew.
Yeah.
Right?
If I think about it, Dar, the story I always tell when Dar looked at me in the car and she goes, "Don't be cheap." And she goes, "I don't want to raise a kid that's cheap." And she goes, "And behave because I don't want grown-ups dreading your presence." That was in a car.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
You're right.
I know.
You know what you're doing.
I do.
Sometimes. Really quick, we got to go. Tell people about the event if you're watching locally here.
Yeah, so on Sunday, it's actually World Teen Mental Wellness Day. And I know, it's great. And so I work for a company called Cadre. We're a social platform. We're always and only about mental health. And we're putting on an event at Big Brothers Big Sisters in partnership with them and also Blue Cross Blue Shield Minnesota. And it will be a moment for teens to tell us what we need to know as adults about mental health. And there will be a band, there will be artists there to interpret what the teens have said, a teen panel. It's going to be great. We'd love to see you there.
Head to eventbrite.com, the same place you get Jason's show tickets for information right there. Colleen Lindstrom, everybody. Follow her on social. We'll be right back. Back in a moment.